Good afternoon, everyone. Our services today, honoring the memory of Marcia Kovalsky, will be conducted by Temple Bethel's own clergy, Rabbi Charles Briskin, and Cantor Ilan Davidson. Before we start, I can ask everyone, please take a moment and take out your cell phone and make certain that it's on silent. I thank you.
Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz. Esainai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Esainai el harim me'ayin yavo Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz.
I lift my eyes to the mountains. From where does my help come? My help comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. On behalf of the Kovalsky family, I want to thank you for being here to share your love, your comfort, and your support, not only for them, but for one another, as we still come to terms with this tragic loss that so many communities have faced. I want to acknowledge the presence of our colleague, Cantor Judy Sofer from Temple Beth Shalom in Long Beach, where Marty and Miriam have been longtime members, where their daughter became bat mitzvah just a few months ago. And of course, so many friends from Congregation Ner Tamid who are here as well. So as you know, Ner Tamid was Marcia and Al's spiritual home for most of the time that they were here in the South Bay. And we here at Temple Bethel welcome you, provide comfort and support during this time. Because we shouldn't be here today. This was not supposed to happen. It's hard to come to terms when a beloved wife, mother, grandmother, mother-in-law, and dear friend like Marcia Kovalsky dies so suddenly, so tragically, without warning. When I learned of Marcia's death late Friday night, a line from the powerful memoir written by Joan Didion came to mind. Life changes fast, she writes. Life changes in the instant. You sit down to dinner, and life as you know it ends. There was no chance to say goodbye to Marcia. The family gathered for Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday, and the next day, she was dead. We can ask ourselves why. However, we will never know the answer. So instead, we ask ourselves what? What can we do to treasure and protect the memory of our beloved Marcia? What can we do to comfort others? And what can others do to comfort us? Our grief and shock is profound. Yet, even in a painful moment like this, I like to think of the lesson we can learn from candlelight. All lit candles burn out eventually. Some are blown out while others burn down until they are no more. Yet some candles live on. They do so when their flame kindles other flames. Even though Marcia's candle was extinguished quickly and suddenly, it wasn't before it kindled the lights of her beloved sons, Robert, Bruce, and Marty, daughters-in-law, Sharon, Jolynn, and Miriam, and grandchildren, Sarah, Jason, Jenna, Shane, and Laura. We know that as long as Al, his children, and grandchildren occupy a place in this world, Marcia's presence, Marcia's light, will be with us. So in this time of grief and shock, we turn to one another and see Marcia's light aglow in all whom she touched. And we turn to our tradition to find comfort and solace as we work together to regain our strength and our equilibrium and return to our place in this world that needs us so much. The time of mourning is complicated and filled with many emotions, both bitter and sweet. The words of our tradition, both ancient, modern poetry, the words of our loved ones, will help us through our grief as we connect Marcia's life to the 3,000-year-old tradition of our people and to the eternity of God. These words from chapter 31 of the book of Proverbs, words that are traditionally said by a husband to his wife at the Shabbos table. Eshet Chayil, for the strong women in our lives. A woman of valor, seek her out. She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm all the days of her life. She reaches out to those in need and offers her help to the poor. Adorned with strength and dignity, she looks to the future with courage. She speaks with wisdom. Words of kindness and caring are on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Those who love her sing her praise. Many women have done valiantly, but you surpass them all. Honor her for her deeds. Her life proclaims her praise. The words of the 23rd Psalm are shared to offer strength and hope and support during our most difficult times. The words of the psalmist remind us that this chasm that we walk through may be deep and long, and it may be hard to even acknowledge the possibility that there's light at the end. However, with God at our side, with our faith and trust in God, we know that eventually we will come out of that chasm into a place of life and light. I'll first read the words in its traditional Hebrew, and I'll share the English translation. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai Ador Ilo Echsar, Bin Ot Desha Yarbitseni, Al Me Menuchot Yinahaleni, Nafshi Yeshovev, Yancheni B'ma'aglet Tzedek L'ma'an Shemo, Gam Ki Elech B'geit Salmavet, Lo Irara Ki Ata Imadi, Shivtecha Umishantecha, Hema Yinachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai, dishanta v'shemen roshi kosir vaya, ach toch v'chesed yurdufuni, kol yimei chayei, v'shavti b'vet Adonai, la'orech yamim. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters and restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Poetry was such a part of Marcia's life, and I saw a few of the poems that Al wrote to Marcia. So these aren't his words, these are just a couple of more contemporary poems that I've chosen to help us through our grief. When Will I Be Myself Again? By Rabbi Louis John Aron. When will I be myself again? Some Tuesday perhaps in the late afternoon, sitting quietly with a cup of tea and a cookie. Or Wednesday, same time or later. You will stir from a nap and see her. You will pick up the phone to call her. You will hear her voice, unexpected advice, and maybe argue, and you will not be frightened, and you will not be sad, and you will not be alone, not alone at all, and your tears will warm you. But not today, and not tomorrow, and not tomorrow's tomorrow, but someday, some Tuesday, late in the afternoon, sitting quietly with a cup of tea and a cookie, and you will be yourself again. And this poem by David Harkins called Choices. You can shed tears that she's gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you cannot see her, or you can be full of the love you have shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she is gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what she would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. The book of Proverbs teaches the human spirit is the light of God. Within each of us, God implants a divine spark. Each of us has the obligation to tend this spark and fan it into a flame that will light up one's own life and the lives of others. A lit candle can be snuffed out, or it can burn out, or it can kindle other candles. When the flame is passed on to others, the flame will continue to burn long after the original candle has been extinguished. This was the reading and the reflection that inspired my opening remarks, and it is so true. Look around the room. This room filled to capacity. Although Marcia's candle has been extinguished, her flame continues to burn brightly in her children and grandchildren and her husband, in this large, loving community that has come from near and far to be here today. Our stories will share how she lit up the lives of others, how her determination, pursuit of excellence, devotion to family and community animated the core values that guided her life. We acknowledge that we may never understand why. However, the way we continue to live our lives with our memories of our dear Marcia Kovalsky, deeply implanted within our hearts, minds, and souls, will help us come to terms with our grief and sorrow. Marcia was born and raised in Detroit. She did not have an easy childhood. Her mom died when she was 9 years old. Her dad remarried a couple of years later, and sadly, she had a difficult relationship with her stepmother. Fast forward to the eve of her high school graduation, when her life changed immeasurably for the better. For it was on that night that she met a guy named Al, who had been brought to Marcia's graduation party by one of Marcia's girlfriends. Now, needless to say, the night with Al's original date didn't end well. But from that night forward, Marcia and Al were virtually inseparable. There was no one like her, Al said to me. It was love at first sight. Both knew that they were each other's beshert, the person with whom God meant them to be. 2 years later, they married, and they carried on their love affair for more than 62 years. Al believes that he would be nothing without Marcia. She made me achieve. She made me go to college. She had confidence in me. Anything I've done and achieved in life is because of her, Al remarked to me. Marcia ran the house as Al worked all day and studied at night, eventually earning his degrees. And this was no easy task with 3 rambunctious boys running around their home. Al, Marcia, and their boys moved to California in 1963 when Al's job transferred him here. And they never looked back. I've had many conversations with Marcia about what it was like to grow up in Detroit, and she had fond memories of her time there. But except for family vacations in the summertime, Detroit remained part of her history, not her present, once she and Al moved west. Marcia spent much of her early California days trying to keep her boys in check. We were not gentle children, Robert remarked to me. She put up with all of their challenges and encouraged them to follow their dreams. Education was a priority, and she expected her children to be successful. Marcia wanted the best for her boys and was especially grateful when Robert chose to become a lawyer rather than to try to make a career as a professional musician. However, being a musician was something that was important to Marcia, as long as one wasn't depending on its income to feed the family. When she was older, she relearned how to play piano. However, she wasn't content just to play casually at home. No, she earned a degree in music education and taught piano to students for many, many years. And when arthritis made it too difficult for her to play, she taught herself a new skill. She learned how to paint. In fact, a few of her paintings were featured as part of our Art of Community celebration this past month. And all you need to do is walk into her home to see the many examples of her fine portraits and landscapes. Judaism was integral to Marcia's life. She grew up in a traditional Orthodox home. She and Al were the 25th family to join Congregation Ner Tamid, which was a central part of their lives for 42 years. And when she and Al and many of their friends came to Temple Bethel about 5 years ago, she devoted a tremendous amount of time and energy into supporting our congregation, most notably as one of the key members of our membership committee. She and Al opened their home to meetings, to our Shabbat, at the table celebrations. She helped to create wonderful opportunities to engage our Temple Bethel members through some very special programs. Her most recent contribution, and one that I think will be very long-lasting, was that she began to teach a younger generation of our members how to play mahjong. Coming on Sunday mornings during our Torah school to play Maj with the Torah school parents. And like most things in life, she took teaching Maj very seriously. During her short tenure here at TBE, Marcia certainly left a mark on our congregation. Judaism was one of Marcia's core values. Ahead of that, however, of course, was family. She loved her daughters-in-law as if they were her own children, and her grandchildren even more. She was very proud of them and very invested in their success and achievements. She also spoiled them as any grandparent is wont to do. She was adaptable, learning how to use a smartphone texting with their grandchildren, even mastering emojis. No easy task for an octogenarian. Family gatherings were central. Nobody was permitted to miss family events. When Al and Marcia celebrated their 50th, 55th, and 60th anniversaries, they took the family on cruises. And on one memorable cruise, Al and Marcia were the winners of the ship's version of the Newlywed Game. Please do yourself a favor. Ask her children how she answered one delicate question. Al and Marcia loved to travel, having visited over 74 countries together. And I was always amazed how in recent years especially, they were able to take adventurous trips, such as their trip to Israel and Jordan a couple of years ago. They would go, and along the way, Marcia would always be sure to coordinate their travel to include Al's dialysis treatments. Too often, that sort of interruption puts a limit on travel. For Marcia, it was just one more thing to plan and coordinate. There are many words that describe Marcia Kovalsky. She was relentless, focused, and organized, loving, giving, and very proud. She was also direct and opinionated. She always told you what was on her mind, and I know that well. She was fiercely loyal and a perfectionist. Whether it was playing piano, painting, gardening, even playing Maj, don't interrupt her in the middle of a hand. Even that, whatever she did very, very well. It's hard to believe that Marcia, in her physical presence, is no longer with us. She was in good health when this freak accident occurred. Many believe that she would live to 100. It's especially hard for Al, who had Marcia at his side for 65 years. However, like that candle that lights other candles, we know that the spirit and flame of Marcia Kovalsky continues to glow in her children and grandchildren, of whom she is very proud. She was accomplished in so many ways, and I know how proud she is to see the next generation carry on the Kovalsky name and their values so ably. Marcia Kovalsky, you have left us far too soon. However, the imprint you have left upon us is indelible. May God guard your soul, and may you rest in peace. Amen. At this time, we're going to hear a few words of remembrance from some of those closest to her. We'll hear in order from her son Bruce, followed by her granddaughter Jenna, followed by sons Marty, and then Robert. Bruce?
When we and my brothers were young, my mom stressed the importance of education. And I took this encouragement on early in life, excelling a lot more in high school than my brothers did. and I continued on in college at UCLA and Cal Berkeley. And my mom was proud of our educational success. And she continued to encourage, expect my brothers to also complete college. And they both did that. And both went on to finish law school, which made her very proud. This lifelong encouragement was also demonstrated with my father, who she supported to get his degree from Lawrence Tech when we were very young boys, and he got it working full-time, and we were always running around causing trouble. And he also started his MBA at age 50. And my mom supported that too, which is, to me, incredible. I can't imagine doing that. And finally, the education continued for herself. You know, she completed a music education in her 50s while teaching piano to almost 40 students. And she continued her lifelong education by joining the Omnilor Adult Learning Group 10 years ago to expand her love of learning. And just this morning, I went to her car to clear it out to come here. True story. And there was a bag with a Torah in it. And I know she was in the Torah study group here. She was probably planning to come soon. So she never stopped learning. Her energy and desire for families staying together was incredible. As the rabbi mentioned, over the last 12 years, she helped organize 3 family cruises for their 50th, 55th, and 60th wedding anniversaries with all of her children and grandchildren. And she meticulously coordinated the travel arrangements to make sure we all would be there and pick the appropriate side tours and make sure that the whole family gathered each night at dinner to share the day's experiences. So each night at these dinners, she reveled at her family being around, and she would make friends with the waiters that she liked. And she made sure they knew every accomplishment and milestone that her children and grandchildren had done. And also at any meal, not just on the cruises, she would also let those waiters and waitresses that didn't meet her standards know that in no uncertain terms, and they needed to step up their game, and they usually did. Marcia definitely had a way to get her point across when she wanted to. On Thanksgiving night last Thursday, my parents and brothers got together at Marty and Miriam's in Long Beach to celebrate Thanksgiving, and it was a great meal, and celebrated together with them. My family talked to them via FaceTime for about a half hour, and my mom was so excited to share the time and catch up with each and every one of us and find out what everyone was doing. Some people are happy to live 82 years on this earth, but with my mom, it felt like she should be with us for many, many more. And for that, I'm very saddened. And what this accident has taught me is, for each of you, please make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them today and each day going forward, since we never know when a conversation or visit will be the last. I love you, Mom.
You know that saying, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Well, Grandma didn't wait around for life to give her lemons. If you ever ate out with her, you know she asked for those lemons with her water, no ice, every time. Every meal, without fail, she'd take the lemon and literally make lemonade. My grandmother was an amazing woman. When I really think about her, the person she was, her spirit, the adjectives that come to mind for me are loving, vivacious, curious, proud, patient, positive, kind. She was the only person who ever winked at me in my life, always with a knowing smile, like we were in on a secret. Matter of fact, she was always smiling and always so clearly smitten with my grandfather. She was a voracious learner, a planner, an avid emoji user, and to many, she was an artist, a teacher, a friend. To me, she was all of these things and more. She was my grandma. She adored her grandchildren and took great pride in us. Growing up, and even in recent years, every trip she and my grandpa took, she had picked something out to bring back for each of us, something she thought we would enjoy. We were lucky to have such a loving but also thoughtful person in our lives. And it's rare to have a grandmother with more energy than her grandkids. I was always telling her how amazed I was that she kept a more active social calendar than any of us, myself included. I was lucky enough to come to LA for college and have my grandparents around. I remember family walks along Terranea Resort in Palos Verdes, and the long chats with the two of them in the car in the parking lot before they dropped me back off at USC. I remember the joy of getting to know my grandparents as people, understanding the lives they've lived and what shaped them and their worldview. Grandma loved to tell stories, and she'd talk your ear off for hours if you'd indulge her. She had so much to share and give. Her love for life was always evident and infectious. She taught me so many things. What it means to really love someone, her relationship with my grandpa, well, it sets the bar. To always be learning and exploring, and to stand up for myself, to ask for what I want in life, and to go after it. I know she would want us celebrating her life today. All that she did, all that she was, all that she left behind. We owe her that. So today, life hasn't quite given us lemons, but it gave us Marcia Kovalsky. And if there's one thing I can tell you, it's this. If life doesn't give you lemons, you ask for them, demand them, like she did. And if we do, I think we'll all be drinking her lemonade in no time. Thank you for everything, Grandma. I love you.
Anyone who knew my mom, AKA Marcia, knew she had more energy than any normal person. I think that's a theme. She was highly intelligent, curious, and a great sense of humor. Also, the rabbi said that they went to Israel and Jordan a couple years ago. It was March 2016. A couple years ago, they went to Germany and Belgium and visited us. All while Dad was on dialysis and Mom coordinated it. She thoroughly enjoyed life, had a good sense of humor, was well-read, poised, social, moral, gifted in the arts, and extremely active, but always caring for her family and friends and the community, whether that was the 42 years at Ner Tamid or the time here. As you know, Marcia completed her undergraduate degree in music education in 1985, beating me by 1 year, making me the last Kovalsky in my family to finish my undergraduate degree. But I am the baby, so I have an excuse. It wasn't surprising that Mom went back to school. She didn't need the degree. She had been teaching 37 students or more in piano, but she did it because she was a lifetime learner. In fact, she often sent me interesting articles and saved interesting articles for me to see. In fact, the last one she sent me was about how social context and social community was key to long-lived communities like in Okinawa, Japan, and other communities that have a lot of centenarians, or people over 100. And so her conclusion was that people with good social contacts live longer and better lives, and she was right. She was also courageous. In 1988, at the age of almost 53, with my dad, 55, they took out a large line of credit and started a new biotech manufacturing company named Ultraloom, knowing that the odds against any new business being successful was statistically unlikely. They were successful, and they retired and sold Ultraloom in November 2000. As you have heard, my mom was a patient teacher, unless perhaps you were not paying attention and learning when you were playing mahjong. But she always encouraged you to be your best. What can I tell you about Marcia that you may not know? Although a traditional homemaker in the 1960s through the 1980s, she was a feminist. Had I had a sister, she would have had the same rules that the boys had. How do I know this, other than conversations with her? When my cousins, and all my first cousins, who are all girls, came out and stayed with us for summer or many months, they had the same rules at the same age. My mom was true to her word. And she believed in equality for everyone. And that was what we were taught, regardless of sex or background. She smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day for 25 years. But she quit in 1974, a demonstration of willpower. As you heard, Marcia was resilient. She lost her mom when she was 9, and within a year she lost her older aunt, who was then 21, in a car accident. But she always was optimistic. In short, my mom, together with my dad, taught us how to be good people, how to be good parents, how to be good husbands, uncles, cousins, and friends, by conversations at the dinner table, but more importantly, by living example. Marcia, you know, was incredibly proud of her husband, her sons, her grandchildren, all her family members' accomplishments. And you already know she taught me how to spoil my future grandchildren. We will keep the many memories and lessons learned and the multitude of joyous occasions we shared. She lives in our memories and what she has taught us by her example. Goodbye, Mom. We miss you and we'll love you immensely.
First of all, on behalf of the family, I want to thank everybody. This has been very hard on us. and the responses we've received is amazing. I have no time to go through the names of so many people that have been part of what the support we've received. But it's been amazing, and I want to thank everybody for your support, for everything that's been done, and your continued support. Thank you. My mom and dad met in Detroit when she was 17. My father was 19. My father was immediately smitten with her contagious energy and how easy it was to talk to her. My father didn't have, prior to that time, he had difficulty talking to women, but with my mom, it was easy. In the early years of the marriage, times were tough. It was through my mom's focused encouragement and support that my father got an education and finished night school while he was working full-time. My mom and dad were a true team in every sense of the word. They took on monumental projects that would test anyone else's marriage. Together, they built and worked together in their own high-tech business. They traveled the world together for pleasure and business extensively. In recent years, the fact that they were both experiencing some health issues did not slow them down in the least. They tore down and rebuilt from scratch the beautiful house that many of you will be coming to for Shiva later. And what I mean by that, my wife Sharon, I love her dearly. We can't agree on what siding to put on our house. The fact that my parents were able to tear down a house and build it, it truly is a monumental task that would, anyone else, they would test their marriage. With them, it was just another divide and conquer task to get done. Growing up, my brothers and I were blessed with the stability of my parents' relationship. From our vantage point, they could handle any situation together, and they did. Rest assured, we tested that relationship. In recent years, we've heard that while my mom was disciplining us, alone, they privately were laughing at our antics. Mom and Dad were married for 62 and a half wonderful years. Dad, you've said in the last few days that was not enough time with her, and that's true. You've said that words cannot describe your relationship with Mom, and I think that's true too. Although words can't describe the relationship, my father has certainly done his part to try to do it over the years. He regularly wrote poems to her, and I know my mom cherished those poems. And I'd like to take the chance to read one of them right now. This is on July 19th of 2009, my mom's 74th birthday, and these are my dad's words. Today, you turn a healthy 74. I've known you for 56 or more. I used to write you a rhyme or two to let you know my feeling for you. I remember our first date. It was June. We kissed under a Detroit summer moon. Your smile captivated me from the start. Your warmth captured my lonely heart. Now you turned a very young 74. I will love you forever and a little bit more. Mom, I love you.
want to thank all of you for sharing those beautiful words of memory and tribute. We know this is just a fraction of what she meant to you in all the years that you've known her, and just a fraction of all the memories that collectively we share in this room. Later on this afternoon and tomorrow when we gather for Shiva Minyanim, many of you will have the opportunity to share an anecdote or a story, the way that Marcia touched your life, the way she made you laugh, or smile, the way she challenged you, the way she told you exactly what was on her mind. All these things are how we keep memories alive, how we keep that candle burning, to make sure that it continues to burn for many years to come and continues in some way to kindle other lights as well. Please stand if you are able for El Malay Rachamim.
El Malay Rachamim Shochen Bamramim Chametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanafei Ashchina B'malot Kedoshim Utorim Kezohar Haraki Amazhirim Et Nishmat Masha Bat Louis Berta She'alcha Leolama Ba'al Harachamim Yastireha Beseter Knafecha Leolamim Bitzror Achayim Et Nishmata Adonai Unnachalata Vetanuach B'shalom al mishkava V'nomar Amen.
El Malay Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Marcia Kovalsky, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. You can be seated.
In just a few moments, we'll be leaving here and proceeding to Green Hills Memorial Park, which is just a few miles away from here, for the interment portion of the service. Now, please keep in mind, we will be reconvening at Green Hills. We will not be driving there in formal procession. Following the service at Green Hills, family invites you to join them at their home in Rancho Palos Verdes. There will be Shiva Minyan at 5 o'clock today and at 7:30 tomorrow evening. So once again, immediately after the service at Green Hills, with formal minyan at 5 today, and then again at 7:30 tomorrow. I have all of that, as well as driving directions, on a handout in the main lobby where you came in. On the counter where the register book was, there are copies. You can help yourself if you need one. Now, what we're going to be doing in a moment is I'll be asking everyone to stay seated while casket bearers and immediate family go down the aisle, and we're going to exit this way. The door's on this side. I'm going to ask that once we've gone out, everyone else kindly exit through the main lobby the way that you came in. Following will be serving as casket bearers Robert Kovalsky, Bruce Kovalsky, Marty Kovalsky, Shane Kovalsky, Jason Kovalsky, and Bob Blumenthal. If I may ask those gentlemen to please come forward.